In this video, I want to talk about, or I was planning on talking about, like how to find happiness in life, basically. That's basically what I wanted to talk about, finding happiness. So I would start by saying that happiness is like the most natural state of being. It's the most natural state of being when you take away all of the distractions of the stuff that goes on in our mind and external troubles that's happening around us in the world. It might come from, you could say, having an awareness of the universe, or developing a deep connection with life through quieting the mind. And basically, there's a few things that kind of hold us back. One of them is being that we don't have like a conscious intuition of impermanence. Because the truth is that it's sort of like our own ego getting in the way. It's sort of like our own ego getting in the way of realizing or having a connection to the serenity of existence. And if you just close your eyes and listen to the birds and, the beautiful nature and how quiet it is, and, like, it'll help you tap into the serenity of life. And, if you put 1 million people in the seat that I'm sitting now, it's not that everyone would have peace. And it's not that everyone would be able to have like a deep inner contentment and peace. And that says something worth noting, because you may say to me, well, if we could all just have a perfect life where there was no problems and we could just sit in nature all day and everything was taken care of, then we could all be perfectly happy. But the thing is that you can't really just give that to yourself. I mean, you can't just automatically make yourself a millionaire and be able to do this every single day. And not only that, but there are people out there, like millions of people, where they actually have opportunities to being out here in nature like this. Even many people have the opportunity to do that often. But even still, they're suffering and they don't have inner peace. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that our inner peace comes from within ourselves. because there are people in the world that have the opportunity to sort of engage in things like this, sitting outside and, you know, so on and so forth, but they still have a lot of suffering in themselves. And there's also people who, you know, maybe they are stuck in a job or stuck in a lifestyle that makes it hard to appreciate things like this because they're busy and stuff. And, you know, life is varied and complex, so to speak, in terms of the intricacies of the world. But basically, my point is that if you just shut up and listen, it's really nice and it's really peaceful and it's really enjoyable. And so once you start meditating and spending a little time in nature, then you're going to start realizing that it's like a lot of your problems is going to start dissolving and it's going to start melting away. And that kind of leads me to the point that I was trying to make, is that, you know, no matter where you are in life, you kind of owe it to yourself, so to speak, to pursue peace, because having peace makes life more enjoyable, right? So that's basically what I want to talk about in this video. And the premise of the video is that life is sacred and that life is divine and that everything is divinity. That's like the theme of the video that I want to talk about in relation to our personal life and how that affects us, right? So there is goodness in badness when you look at things on a long enough timeline, right? We can see how certain things that are maybe perceived as wonderful, they would not be possible if certain things that were chaotic were not there first, right? So that's part of the whole letting go of life and attachments sort of thing, you know, because there's so much things in life that's out of our control. And part of finding inner peace is, like I'm saying, is if you shut up and listen and just look around, like I'll show you guys, like just looking around, like obviously it's peaceful and it's beautiful and all of that. But like I'm saying, you may not be able to experience this, but some of you will. But if you practice meditation and develop, you know, a still mind, so to speak, and then you come to a place like this that's quiet and birds chirping and it's beautiful and perfect weather and whatever, then through your meditative practice, when you combine that meditative practice and being in a place like this, then you can easily attain inner peace. But a lot of that inner peace comes from quieting our own mind. And it comes from making our consciousness still. Which is basically what I was saying earlier, because if you put 1 million people into the seat that I'm sitting now, well, you'd have a lot of different, it's not that everyone would find peace, right? So that's kind of the thing, is that a lot of our turmoil comes from, it's like vibrations inside of us, right? And so part of finding peace in life is letting go. Because the more that you hold on to life and try to resist the flow of life, it's like, life is like water and life is flowing. And when you mentally resist the flow of life, it's like you are struggling and straining against the stream, the current, rather than relaxing and letting go. So that's a tremendous part of inner peace, is just letting go, right? Letting go. And part of that realization is in realizing the impermanence of life. This life is not permanent. If you really concentrate on the present moment, you'll see nothing lasts. You may look around at this world and think that everything is lasting, and that's the kind of thought process that people have. They view the world as sort of rigid, permanent. But you have to realize that nothing is the same as it was 1 second ago. For example, this table that I'm sitting on, in 1,000 years, it'll just be rubble on the ground, probably. And in 1 million years, it won't exist. It'll just be the dust of the ground. So, if you really pay attention to the present moment, you'll see that nothing lasts in this ephemeral world that we live in. And you can easily attain this state of awareness if you simply contemplate the impermanence of life, right? So just imagine in 1 million years, everything that you know is going to be gone. Like it didn't exist in the first place, basically. Of course, the present, you could say from a timeline perspective, right? Like the present has flowed from the past and the future will thus be soon. But basically, like, if you really contemplate the details of your life, and you just have to keep reminding yourself, it's not going to last. This is all going to disappear. Everything that you're thinking about in terms of what has happened in this life, it's like a dream. It's like smoke. It's like it doesn't even exist because it's all just going to disappear. Everything in your life that you know of, that's a part of this ephemeral reality, it's all going to disappear. All of the times that people hurt you and all of the shit that you said and everything that happened and everything you did and they did and everything that everyone did, and like everything that you're holding grudges against, everything that you're consumed in thinking of, your porn addiction and all this stuff and that stuff and this and all these reasons why you don't have inner peace. It's like, it's all going to disappear into nothing. That's where it goes. It goes into nothing. It doesn't go anywhere. It goes nowhere. You see what I'm saying? Like, all those words that I said 10 minutes ago, where are they? They're nowhere. They're nothing. So everything that you know that's happened in this world, it's nothing. It's just going to disappear. And the more you start to realize this, that this whole world is evanescent. Evanescent and transient and ephemeral and impermanent, they all have slightly different meanings. You know, impermanent just means not permanent. It's not forever, right? Transient, it'll go away at some point. Ephemeral, you know, it has its own nuance, right? It implies almost like, you know, an illusion like nature and short-lived, so to speak. But evanescent, the word, it means quickly fading, right? So it's not just that, you have to realize that it's not just that this world is not permanent and that in a million years it'll all be gone. Like, that's true too, and it'll all just be into nothing. But when you think about the word evanescent, it's a word that a lot of spiritual philosophies have talked about, you know, evanescent. Because the word means that it is quickly disappearing. It's not just that it'll disappear someday, it's that it is rapidly fading, right? And so that's the sort of feeling that you're going to get when you start meditating, that the impermanence, the evanescence of this world. And from there, you know, that state will progress in many ways towards, you know, inner peace and that sort of thing, right? And it's going to help you to tap into that feeling that life is okay. You know, all the stuff that's going on in my mind, it's nothing. It's going to turn into nothing. That's all it's going to do. Right? So by tapping into that nothingness, so to speak, you realize that everything is all right. You know, you can just let it go, you know, like, and again, like, you might point your fingers at me and say like, well, you have an easy life, right? Because you have no responsibilities and, you know, look, you're in a beautiful nature. You know, if I was there, I would feel better, right? And so I don't argue with that, not in the slightest. You know, not in the slightest would I even try to argue with that, because that makes perfect sense. But, you know, that's not really what the video is about. The video is about, just like I said earlier, it's like, we all want inner peace. So that's basically what I want to talk about, right? So, you know, it's like, why do bad things happen? That's why we don't have inner peace, right? That's why we're fucked up, is because it's like, well, these bad things happened, or bad things are happening. And it's like, well, that sucks. Right? And that's why my life sucks. Right? And I think that's just like yin yang, if you ask me. I think that's just like yin yang, if you ask me. Like, yeah, there's all this fucked up shit that has happened to us in life, or maybe is happening still. But, you know, it's like you can learn a lesson from that, and that can help you to grow as a person. As I said, the theme of this video is that life is sacred and that life is divine and that life is a manifestation of divinity itself. And so, you know, people always say, like, if I could go back and relive my life from starting from young, with the knowledge and wisdom that I have now, then, you know, I would have a better life, is what people say. So, you know, this body is 33. My body is 33. So I've had some time to think about these things. So, you know, if you're younger than me, then perhaps this may help somehow. Because this is what I've realized after my time. And, you know, a lot of my time was wasted. So that's also another thing to consider, is that, like, a lot of the stuff that I've achieved spiritually, it didn't take me 33 years. So, like, that's kind of my point, you know. So, the problem of evil and bad things seems to be like a blockage in the way of our inner peace, of feeling peace at life, with life, right? But again, it's like that's how life teaches us. It's like it's all a part of the way that life unfolds according to some grand, perfect plan that, you know, like, basically, a way to think of it is like this, you know, it's like you would not be who you are right now if your past was different in a dramatic way, right? So it's like, you know, what I'm trying to say is that the external world it doesn't have to define where you're going, because what defines who we become the most is what happens inside of us. So that's kind of like basically what I was saying earlier, is that, like, we are who, like, our future self is kind of like, you know, in a way defined by what we're doing today. And we can achieve things physically in the world, like getting better at a certain skill, or making money, or, you know, helping others. But who we are as a person does not come from it's like, it really comes from within ourselves. And it's true that things that are going on outside of us can change how we feel, and therefore that also influences us, right? But and that can happen in two different ways. Sometimes we can do something with the external world, and that can change how we feel. Or sometimes things just happen, and that can affect us as well. So, all that is true, but at the same time, the majority of who we are in life is based on our own inner self-work. So I think that life is always trying to guide us, personally. I think that for me personally, I think there's always been a higher power in my life. Higher, so to speak. A power in my life, guiding me, and, at least to some degree, or varying degrees. But, if you don't see life like that, then you don't see it like that, right? But it's kind of like, life does change when you see it that way, I would say. When you can, feel that there is a higher power helping you, I guess, so to speak. But that's not necessarily the topic of this video, because the topic of this video is more of like what you can do for yourself to better your life. But I do believe that we all have like a highest path, so to speak, because we all have things that resonate with our soul, things that naturally bring us happiness and joy, and things that we are naturally drawn to, right? And it's hard to, it can be really hard to find that when you're a kid, right? And so we are a product of our environment, as long as we are living unconsciously. So, like, if you don't have a conscious connection with what you're doing as far as your own personality, then you're going to be a product of your environment. And that starts at an early age, right? And, most kids are not very conscious of where they're going in life. And if they are, it's almost guaranteed because of what an adult told them. So children and kids are, largely a product of their environment. And that sets us up for failure in many ways. Because most of us don't get to grow up in an environment that is successful on every level. So we inherit the, you could say, dark aspects of what's going on around us. If we're not conscious, which most kids are not in the way that I'm talking about. And by dark tendencies, I don't necessarily mean dark. I just mean more like ignorant tendencies. that are inherited familially, culturally, socially, and even globally. And so the thing is that, like, because we are all divine, it's like, well, your soul has the highest path. And so the thing is, in order for you to have that divine connection, well, it's like you have to be in alignment with your soul's highest path. And the most basic element of that is having a very clear understanding of the person that you are and the life that matters most to you. Like living a life that is good for you. And, it's like, because we inherit a lot of bullshit from our family and culture and society and the world, and the world is like a super like judgmental, non-accepting place where people who are different are almost all the time ridiculed. It's part of like a herd mentality. Like if you're different than what society says is normal and good, then it's like, well, a lot of people are going to put you down and laugh at you and like, blah, blah, blah. And so that can lead to internalized phobias where you don't even accept yourself because of what society told you. So, that's part of it. Like, it takes time. It takes time to discover your most authentic self. And so we end up wasting a lot of time because we're not on the right track to being who we're supposed to be. We're way off on the side doing all this other dumb shit. Getting lost in all manner of volatile confusions, volatile, confusing situations. Because we don't have a firm grasp of who we are. We've been bombarded by bullshit from society. And we don't have a clear understanding of like what resonates with us on a soul level. So, we end up going through a lot of strange things because of all that, right? And, I don't want to waste too much time, like, telling you about my path in life, because it's like, well, that's just what resonates with me personally. Like, yeah, I like to meditate, and, I spend most of my time focusing on divinity, and, I enjoy taking walks outside, and, I enjoy various things. But, I'm not going to try and say that that's the life for everyone, that everyone should live. That's what matters to me. But I can share some other insights and things that I've learned. And, you can think about it, you know, like if everything's just going to disappear into nothingness, then what is real? You know, is there anything that's real? And, you know, I think there are some things that are tied to reality. You know, I think that if you meditate and, you know, cultivate self-awareness, then I think that you may find that some things are permanent in this existence. You know, for me, I'm all about love myself, you know. So I mean, I think love is like, maybe it's not for everyone in this lifetime, you know. uh but for me, like, I think it's important to pursue love. And, you know, whether that is loving life or having someone that you love, or, you know, being in love with the divine, or having a life that you love, or doing what you love, loving yourself, right? Being a loving person. But I mean, that's basically all I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I mean, just finding inner peace and finding what you love, finding what matters to you. And it's going to be a journey, you know, a journey of letting go, finding what you love, practice, realizations. And the final thing that I wanted to say in the video, I wanted to talk a bit about love in terms of like loving someone, because it's something that I'm passionate about in my personal life in terms of like loving someone. So I kind of wanted to just like have it in this video. I could make another video, but I mean, I just have it here, right? Because I think it ties in a way, because like it is kind of spiritual. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, following what I was saying earlier, that like life is spiritual. Yeah, I think that you're never going to find, or I would just say like part of having a relationship is being the most authentic that you can personally be, right? Because it's like, well, if you believe in twin flames, that someone is meant for you out there, then it's like, well, you know, of course, it all just goes with the flow of life anyways. But, you know, like having a firm understanding of yourself and pursuing spiritual wholeness for yourself is going to make you a better partner, right? And I think all of this is all tied in together, you know, the peace and the love and having a good life and like awakening. I think it's like it's all tied in, right? The first thing I would say is that Like, basically, have a deep awareness of who you are becoming and what you are doing with your life, rather than being a product of your environment, right? To practice love, to practice forgiveness, to practice acceptance, to practice realizing the impermanence of this world, and using that as a foundational stone to let go of attachments. And that's going to help you to be a kinder person. It's going to help you to awaken to divinity and enlightenment faster. It's going to help you have more inner peace. It's going to help you to have more happiness and joy. It's true that sometimes we are sad in life, right? And that's just a part of life, It's like there's a time to be sad, and there's a time to be happy and laughing. And, it's like, it takes faith, Like, we suffer oftentimes because life is so uncertain. It feels so uncertain, We look at the present moment and we're not happy with our present moment because we're not attuned to the supreme divinity, right? And, attuning ourselves to the supreme divinity, it's a simple lifestyle of spending your time with spiritual meditations. And that's a journey too, because it takes time to even get there. It takes time to even be ready to start such a lifestyle, right? But we can all start today. Be careful with who you hang out with, right? Having friendship can be super fulfilling and rewarding, but you need to know how to master yourself, because, first of all, it's easy to be influenced by society and others, right? And so that can, it's like, if you're always listening to what the fuck people are saying, well, people are petty. People are ignorant, stupid, jealous, insecure, weird, They have their own biases, their own petty agendas and biases about what they think is good. And if you listen to all these people, well, then you're guaranteed going to miss out on all the good shit. Now, that could also be opposite. Your friends you can have friends that tell you good ideas, right? So I'm not saying to not listen to anyone, but I'm just saying that, like, you need to be strong within yourself. Like, make your own decisions, right? Don't be swayed by other people. Don't be swayed by the opinions of other people, right? And the only way to do this is to meditate. The only way to do this is to stop thinking about the world and just go within. And that's going to help you to build a foundation of personal development. Rather than being developed by society, you are developing yourself. And not only that, but building inner strength is going to give you confidence to do what the fuck you want in life. And building inner strength is going to be the foundation for walking your soul's highest path in life. if you don't have inner strength, you're not going to do it, basically. And I'm not trying to put out hard truths. It's just words, something to think about. But without inner strength, you're definitely not going to have the courage to be yourself and to live the life that you truly want to live. Because you got to be courageous and you got to be strong to do it. And how are you going to cultivate that strength? The number one way to do it is to meditate and be true to yourself. And, there's a million types of meditations, and there's a million types of ways to meditate. For me personally, I practice just sitting quietly, doing nothing. Not necessarily with my eyes closed, although I do that as well. I just, whatever feels natural. You can spend time walking. That's a natural way to practice meditation. Just walk. The goal is not to achieve anything. You just take your time and your mind will slow down naturally. You'll slow down and you'll gain that inner peace and strength, right? There's lots of ways to meditate. You can listen to a spiritual audiobook, or you could read a book and use that as a meditative aid. Basically, meditation is a state, and it's also a practice to reach that state. So the state of meditation is to have a calm mind. Anything that helps you to quiet your mind is a form of meditation. The same with yoga. Yoga is a state and it's also a practice. So the state of yoga is the state of enlightenment, and anything that helps you to reach that state of enlightenment is a type of yoga, right? And you can, there's a whole world of spirituality that you can get into, and I'm not going to promote anything in particular other than just meditation itself, the state of meditation and yoga, Yoga is not just stretching, in case you didn't know. As I said, yoga is a state of enlightenment, which is a journey itself, not just a state. And anything that helps you to reach a higher state of consciousness and awareness of life is a type of yoga, is a form of yoga. The word yoga means union. Union of person and the world or existence, life. So, if you're always listening to the opinions of other people, it might help you to become who you're supposed to be, and it might prevent you from becoming who you're supposed to be. So it could go either ways. It just depends on who you're around, right? And that's sort of a thing. But in general, being in a super loving and supportive and compassionate environment of people that encourage you and allow you to be yourself and give you great advice, that's not very common. So you're almost always better off just listening to yourself. And of course, friends can give you great advice too. And I'm not saying to not use that. That's great too. This video is a type of friendly advice. But all I'm saying is that, if you keep listening to everyone else, it's going to be hard to be yourself. Right? So, we all have our own chosen highest path, chosen by life itself. And that's not a bad thing, because you are a part of that life. So, we all have our highest life, our chosen life. That's going to make you feel the best version of yourself, live the best life, right? And if you're always concerned with what people are saying and listening to toxic advice and stuff like that, then it's like, well, it's going to throw you off your path, right? So I encourage you all to be who you want to be in life, regardless of what people are telling you, and to really find out what matters to you in life. That's what I would suggest. That's my suggestion to you. And meditating is always going to be helpful. You don't got to go too hard on it. Even just 5 minutes a day, you'll slowly start to notice some progress, some changes, right? But basically, I would say this, man. I would say that everyone has a chosen path that's like ordained by life itself. And again, I believe that it's something good, is basically what I'm saying. Like, it's something good, right? Like, and I personally think that, life is intelligent, and there is sort of a signs about our highest path in our life. Not necessarily that we're going to see them or that we did see them, but just, that like, just speaking on the you could say sacredness of life, right? So, to not forget about the magic of life, I would say. And to believe that life is magical. Because why limit yourself? Why limit the life that you can think of? Why limit your dreams? Why let other people limit you? So, man, enjoy life. And don't give up on your dreams. I wish you all the best. That's all I have to say for now. So, I wish you the best. Let go of your worries. Overcome fear. Trust in life. Let your concerns go. Because it's all going to turn into nothing, man. Let it go. Just let everything go. That's freedom. All of these things are just illusions in the mind, shadows in the light of your destiny. We're supposed to let go of these things.